The firing range of the Intergalactic Military Academy fell silent as Aurora stepped up to the shooting line. Her boots clicked against the polished Duraplast floor, each step drawing more attention than she wanted. She could feel dozens of eyes on her, compound eyes, multifaceted eyes, eyes with 3 pupils, all watching the human with barely concealed amusement. "Look at how she holds it," someone whispered in Zenthari, the lingua franca of the academy. Aurora's translator implant picked it up instantly. "Primitive grip," another voice added, this one belonging to a tall Krillian with crystalline skin. No wonder Earth fell so easily to the Dominion. Aurora's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She'd heard worse in the 3 months since arriving at the academy. Earth had been conquered, absorbed into the vast galactic dominion after a war that lasted barely 6 standard years. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, and newcomers were always at the bottom. Victor, standing 2 lanes over, caught her eye and gave her a subtle nod. He was the only other human in their combat training cohort, and they'd learned to communicate in silence. His dark eyes said what his mouth couldn't show them. Instructor Vexter, a 4-armed Carthian with silver scales, moved down the line with his characteristic grace. His species had been warriors for 10,000 years before humans discovered fire. "Cadets," he announced, his voice carrying easily across the range. "Today's exercise is simple. 10 targets at varying distances. You have 30 seconds. Accuracy and speed both count. Standard Dominion pulse rifles. Standard Dominion technique." Aurora picked up the rifle, feeling its weight. It was designed for beings with different physiology, longer arms, different muscle groups, different instincts. The standard grip taught at the academy involved holding the weapon close to the center of mass, using all available limbs for stability. She adjusted her stance, and the whispers grew louder. "Is she really going to shoot like that? Someone should tell her, let her embarrass herself." Aurora extended her arms fully. The rifle shouldered in a way that would look utterly familiar on any firing range on Earth, but appeared bizarre here. Her left hand gripped the forend far forward, her right hand on the pistol grip, stuck tight against her shoulder. Her feet were shoulder-width apart, body bladed at an angle to the target. It was the Weaver stance, modified slightly for the pulse rifle. It was how humanity had been shooting for centuries. "Begin." Vexter's command cracked through the air. The range erupted in a symphony of pulsefire. Rifles hummed and spat coherent energy downrange. Aurora breathed out slowly and squeezed the trigger. Crack, crack, crack. Her rifle spoke in a rhythm different from the others, faster, more controlled, while other cadets swept their weapons in calculated arcs or used targeting computers to line up shots. Aurora's muscle memory took over. Target acquisition, sight picture, trigger press, again, again, again. She'd grown up in the ruins of Denver, learning to shoot when she was 8 years old. The resistance had needed every fighter, every hand that could hold a weapon. By the time she was 15, she could field strip a rifle blindfolded and hit a moving target at 300 meters. The Dominion had won the war, but they'd learned to respect human marksmanship. 20-8 seconds later, Aurora's rifle fell silent. She'd finished early. The range went quiet as the targeting computer displayed results on the holographic board above. Perfect scores appeared next to names: 98.7%, 94.2%, 91.8%. Then Aurora's score populated 0.100%. All 10 targets, all center mass. 2 seconds faster than anyone else. The silence stretched. Someone dropped their rifle, and it clattered against the floor. "Impossible," breathed the Krillian who'd mocked her earlier. "The targeting computer must be malfunctioning." Vexter walked slowly to Aurora's lane, his silver scales catching the light. He examined her targets through the range scope, then turned to look at her stance, her grip, her posture. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a Carthian expression of surprise. "Show me again," he said quietly. "Same stance, 10 more targets." Aurora nodded and reset her position. The targeting computer generated new holographic targets, these ones moving in random patterns. She breathed, centered herself, and fired. 10 shots, 10 hits. 29.3 seconds, Vexter approached her, and the massive instructor did something Aurora had never seen him do. He leaned down until his face was level with hers and spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "Only Earthborn can shoot like that." The words carried anyway. In the acoustics of the range, everyone heard. The instructor straightened and addressed the entire cohort. "What you just witnessed is not superior technology. It is not genetic advantage. It is not computer assistance." He gestured to Aurora. "This is what happens when a species learns to fight with inferior weapons against superior odds." when every shot must count because ammunition is precious. When you train not in academies but in ruins, he began to pace, his forearms gesturing as he spoke. The Dominion teaches the optimal firing stance for maximum stability and multi-limit coordination. It works for 90% of known species. He stopped, looking directly at Aurora, but Earth fought its wars differently. Shorter arms meant different leverage, weaker bodies meant maximizing every advantage, and scarcity meant perfect efficiency. Victor was grinning now, standing straighter. Humans lost their war, Vexter continued, but they made the Dominion pay for every meter of ground. We lost more ships taking Earth than we lost in the previous 3 conquests combined. Do you know why? He didn't wait for an answer. Because when a human picks up a weapon, they don't just learn the manual, they make it part of themselves. Aurora felt heat rising to her cheeks, but she kept her expression neutral. The human grip technique is not wrong, the instructor said. It is specialized, evolved through necessity, perfected through survival. He turned back to Aurora. Cadet Aurora, you will assist me in training sessions. The Dominion is learning to integrate human combat techniques into standard doctrine. Apparently, we have much to learn. The mocking whispers had died completely. Now there was only silence, and something that might have been respect. As they filed out of the range, the Krillian who'd laughed at her earlier approached. I apologize for my words, Cadet Aurora. That was ... impressive. Aurora nodded acknowledgement but said nothing. Victor fell into step beside her as they walked down the corridor. Not bad, he said with a slight smile. For someone from Denver. Not bad yourself, she replied. For someone from New York. They'd both seen Earthborn. They'd both fought and lost. But today, for just a moment, they'd reminded the galaxy that humans hadn't survived by being the strongest or the fastest. They'd survived by being adaptable, efficient, and absolutely relentless. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.